Welcome back to my channel, guys. My name is Raggy, and today I am bringing you the next part of an ongoing series in which I list off and explain my 6 favorite Pokemon from every unique gen in Pokemon. So the episode we are up to today is Gen 7, or rather Sun and Moon. So we're going to be looking at that game and all of the Pokemon that came from it. Which ones are my favorites? Why? In no particular order, for no particular reason. That's what I'm going to be listing off for you today. Definitely comment down below which ones are your favorites and if you agree with any of my choices and why, because I love to read that kind of stuff and learn more about you guys. In any case, we're going to be getting into it right away. So, Gen 7, Sun and Moon, right out of the gate, probably one of my favorite Pokemon to come from that game. Kind of random, but Minior. So Minior is like the little meteorite Pokemon. He looks kind of like one of the stars from Mario Galaxy, I guess. And I couldn't tell you exactly what I love about this guy, but I love that he comes in a whole host of colors. I love his typing. I love that he was just like this random, like standalone Pokemon that you just find. When I found Minior in my playthrough of Sun and Moon, I was at a point where, because I had already decided, like, okay, I'm going to play through this game only using Pokemon that are new. And I found myself at that point, just before that point in the game, kind of ruining my decision because I didn't have a full party yet. And I was kind of like, oh man, I guess I don't like a lot of the Pokemon from this game. And that's kind of true. Like, the 6 Pokemon I'm listing off here are pretty much the only ones I really, really like from Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon was not my favorite, unfortunately. But Minior showed up and was like, this is the perfect guy to just round off my team. I love it. So Minior, it's literally just like kind of a love at first sight kind of deal. I don't have any like in-depth reason for how I use him. It's just like that aesthetic, and he just caught my eye. And yeah, we like Minior. I wish Minior was seen a little more because he's adorable and he's awesome and I love him and I want one. So meh. Next on this list, we have Rowlet. Now, in most of these lists, I usually do end up listing off whichever starter I ended up using in my playthrough of the respective game. But usually that's their final form. Usually. But in a rare case, Rowlet I much prefer over his other 2 forms, those being Dartrix and Decidueye. There's nothing wrong with them. Maybe Dartrix because he looks kind of lame, honestly. Like, I don't think anyone's disputing that. But Decidueye is cool, for sure, but I prefer the cuteness that is Rowlet than the edgy coolness that was Decidueye. Obviously, competitively, I'm more likely to use Decidueye, but we love the round boy Rowlet. He is, like, similar to Minior. It was just kind of a love at first sight thing. I know a lot of people were going crazy about Litten. There's some people who preferred Poplio, but I know that there was a large demand for Rowlet love as well, and I'm in that bandwagon, I guess. So is it basic? Maybe a little bit, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that as well when you're talking about Pokemon. So Rowlet, we love Rowlet. I want one. I want a Rowlet and a Minior. I want all of them. Next on this list, we have Ribombee. So Ribombee, I think a lot of people probably had this experience when playing through Sun and Moon, is they ended up getting a Ribombee and realizing that, oh wow, this guy's special attack is through the roof. Aesthetically, I could take it or leave it. But for how useful he is through like the main game as you do the trials and everything, he's just a powerhouse. He's got incredibly high special attack. He's got good abilities. He's a great addition to the relatively new fairy type as well. He made sense, and I love Ribombee. How useful Ribombee is through my playthrough of Sun and Moon made me really, really appreciate it. Possibly in any other playthrough of any other game, Ribombee is relatively useless. I don't know that for a fact. Well, all I'm getting at is that I had a lot of good luck using him, and that's why I love him. It's a bit of a bias, and that's how they all go, really. The next Pokemon on this list is Alolan Marowak. So probably the first Pokemon in any of these videos that I'm choosing as one of my favorites. who is not necessarily from the respective gen that we're talking about here today, because we all know that Marowak actually comes from Gen 1, and Marowak is awesome. He was not one of my choices in Gen 1, but I still really like Marowak. He's definitely top 20 maybe. So, and I don't think anyone is disputing whether or not Marowak is cool, but what I really appreciated about how he was presented as an Alolan style Pokemon was his new typing. He looked cool, but he completely dishes the ground type to become a fire ghost type. Now, I remember seeing Alolan Marowak in promotional materials before Sun and Moon came out, and I saw the fire, but I just got this gut feeling, and I remember saying, that's a ghost type for sure. And what tipped me off about was that, in particular, was that if you remember in Gen 1, the Lavender Town quest line, if you could call it that, kind of revolves around the ghost of a Mother Marowak. So, and I just thought about that. I was like, how cool would it be if they made Marowak officially a ghost type? And they did, and it was awesome. And I don't know if that's why it got its ghost typing, but it made sense to me. And the aesthetic of being a fire type with a ghost type, not only is that an incredibly useful multi-type to have, but it, like, they just nailed it aesthetically as well. In in a situation where I was not able to ever put Marowak into a top anything list, now I have this opportunity. So even though he's not really an Alolan Pokemon, he is, for all intents and purposes, a Gen 7 Pokemon. So I like Alolan Marowak, and you should too. Next on this list, we have Wishy-Washy. Now, Wishy-Washy, if you have been watching my videos, you may have caught on that I have a massive affinity for deep ocean life, which is weird fish. Deep ocean fish, just reef fish, stuff that looks weird. And while Wishy-Washy may not look weird, he plays on the idea of like fish being very unique and weird and strange, in that he is just a teeny tiny little useless fish. But when he hits level 20, he does not evolve, but he gains the ability, or rather his ability activates, I guess, that makes it so that when he's over a certain amount of hit points, he uses his school form, which is the coolest looking thing. Maybe it should have been an evolved form, but I feel like they deliberately turned it into an ability because the idea of like hundreds of thousands of teeny tiny Pokemon combining to make one was a bit contrived. Call it what you will, it is a unique idea, and I love Wishy-Washy. The thing I've noticed about a lot of Pokemon that came from Gen 7 is they are built very defensively, and Wishy-Washy is that for sure. Where in Gen 6 we had a lot of Pokemon who were introduced who had the potential to do a lot of great damage. We got a lot of good damage dealers in Gen 6. In Gen 7, I guess they kind of balanced things out by giving us a lot of very defensive Pokemon. And Wishy-Washy just filled that role very perfectly. A lot of water Pokemon are known for being very defensive, and he is no exception. He does have that kind of little hiccup where after a certain amount of damage, he becomes incredibly weak. But it's got its niche competitively. I haven't used one competitively, but I should. Maybe we'll try that sometime. Last on this list, I have chosen Golisopod. Golisopod is the coolest designed Pokemon of all time. Don't ask me what he's based on. I know his preform Wimpod is supposed to be like a pill bug or something like that. It's in the same vein as like Deep Ocean Life, essentially, like a trilobite. I don't know. I'm not a paleontologist, okay? But he looks so cool. Like, he reminds me of something. It's something out of like a supernatural anime or like a sci-fi or something. I don't know. But he's the coolest looking Pokemon I have ever seen. And in that same breath, I will say he is also the most disappointing. As I was saying, a lot of Pokemon introduced in Gen 7 were made very defensively, and in keeping with that, not only does Golisopod have decent stats defensively, he has an ability that makes it so that when he goes down to, I think it's 50% health or less, he exits the battle and swaps out with someone else. So I understand that that has its niche. That is very useful competitively. But if you're just playing through the main game of Sun and Moon and you want to use him, it's really inconvenient and wastes a lot of time. So where I wanted to play through the whole game using Glossopod, I found myself kind of regretting that decision because anytime he took more than 50% damage, I had to go through the rigmarole of swapping him out, getting someone else into the team. It was so disappointing. I would like to see in a future Pokemon game Glossopod introduced with a new hidden ability or something that makes him more viable for if you want to use him just more offensively without the gimmicks so much. But it was a cool design, and I liked the idea that despite how he looked, he was kind of like a bit of a fraidy cat Pokemon. I know in the case of Wimpod, that was 100% what they were going for. But for Glossopod, he doesn't look like a coward. He doesn't look like a wuss or anything. So I think they could have realistically ditched the exiting strategy that he was just built with. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. In any case, if only for how he looks, he is one of my favorites, and all of the Pokemon I have mentioned in this video are definitely my favorites from Gen 7. So, like I said, comment down below which ones you agree with. Are we in sync? Are we at total odds? I want to know. If you enjoyed this video today, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit the bell icon as well so you can get instant updates anytime there's a new upload. In any case, my name is Raggy. Thank you so much for watching the video today. I hope you enjoy future videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, have a good one.